Some of you yesterday, I said that we should expect a lot of snow, and unfortunately that's what we're getting. We see now the beginning of serious accumulation starting in different parts of the city. We expect a lot more as the day progresses, particularly during the evening rush hour. So I'm going to say it now, I'm going to say it at different points in this session. The number one message is the evening rush hour is going to be very, very difficult. At times, it's going to be very hard to see if you're out there on the roads. Want to encourage all New Yorkers right now, if you don't need to be out this evening, don't go out. If you are at work right now, try and leave early if you possibly can. Employers, try and let your staff out early because we expect from about 4 o'clock on the snow to start to accumulate very, very quickly. And that's going to create tremendously difficult conditions, particularly on the roads. It's also going to create challenges for mass transit. So clearly, as in all weather situations, you're better off on mass transit than you are in a car. But even mass transit could be affected by this kind of intense snow if what we're hearing right now comes to pass. So I want to urge everyone, try and get home early, try and stay off the roads. Let me give you the projections at this moment. Right now, from the National Weather Service, a range of 12 inches to 18 inches for New York City. Now, I remind everyone that can change at any given point, up or down. But we just got off the phone with the Weather Service, and that is the current projection, 12 inches to 18 inches. Will vary, of course, different parts of the city. Now, the time frame to worry about, again, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Today, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. During that time frame, the projection is that the per hour precipitation is going to be from 1 inch of snow an hour to upwards of 3 inches of snow per hour. I want to remind people, once you get above 1 inch per hour, it feels blizzard-like. You're talking about 2 to 3 inches an hour. That's very, very difficult conditions, very limited visibility, tough for our snow plows to keep up with. I want to say, as I always do, Sanitation Department does an extraordinary job, but they also have to deal with the reality of how quickly the snow is coming down. When you get into that kind of super intense accumulation, it takes time to catch up with it. Another great reason to be off the roads in that time frame, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., is to stay out of the way of the plows so they can do their work. Want to give you updates on wind and temperature. Wind, we're hearing from the National Weather Service gusts of up to 40 miles per hour. So it will be a pretty windy situation to add to the visibility challenges and the snow accumulation. You're going to feel the wind out there. That's going to make driving tougher, walking tougher. Take that into account. Again, that'll get particularly tough during those late afternoon, early evening hours. Temperature, this is maybe the one silver lining in the equation. Right now, temperatures hovering around freezing, might be a little bit below, but we're not getting the bitter cold temperatures we've had in some of the past storms. And the projection for tomorrow is actually pretty good, that we might have temperatures into the low 40s. That'll certainly help a lot in terms of dealing with the aftermath. I talked to our Sanitation Commissioner. You'll hear from her in a minute. Her assessment, which has proven to be very, very accurate over these past 4 years, is that if this storm stays on this current trajectory, this current time frame, we will be in pretty good shape for the morning rush hour tomorrow. But that's something we'll keep updating you on as we get more information. Again, to note that when we're talking about that 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. range, that is absolutely blizzard-like conditions. So expect the worst during that time frame. And as I always remind people, that could change. It could go later, it could go earlier, it could go longer. We'll keep updating you. The Sanitation Department out in force, the Commissioner will go over it, but they have all their equipment out, their personnel out, and they certainly know how to handle a situation like this. Alternate side parking suspended today and tomorrow. So please, if you don't need to move your car, leave it where it is. That's good for everyone. Code Blue in effect citywide. On some other travel and transportation points, Staten Island Ferry, normal schedule, but keep an eye on the information we're putting out because that could change, obviously. NYC Ferry, Right now, most lines normal, but the Rockaway line has been suspended based on the conditions there. Airports, flights are limited right now. I am certain that's going to get worse as the day goes by. I would suspect very few flights will be happening later in the day. Check your airlines before you do anything. And City Bike will be suspended at 1 o'clock today. Want to say New Yorkers are always extraordinary when faced with adversity and extraordinary in their compassion for their neighbors. Check on your neighbors. There's anyone in your building, on your block that you know who might be vulnerable, a senior, someone with a disability or a health need, check in on them, see if they need anything. That makes a huge, huge difference. Finally, if you're having any problem with heat or hot water, please call 311 right away, report it so we can get to work making sure it's restored. And then if there's any life-threatening emergency, call 911 as always. Quickly in Spanish, la tormenta de hoy traerá mucha nieve y será de gran peligro para los conductores y peatones en nuestras calles. Estamos tomando todas las medidas de seguridad necesarias y pedimos a todos los neoyorquinos que hagan lo mismo. No salgan, usen transporte público si tienen que salir, cuídense y cuiden a sus vecinos. With that, I want to turn first to our Commissioner for Emergency Management, Joe Esposito, for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to spring, everybody. City's Emergency Operations Center has been activated since early this morning with dozens of our city and state agency partners working here to handle the response to the storm. Actually, we have a 12 o'clock call with FEMA to see what they can supply if necessary. We are in constant communication with National Weather Service. As the Mayor said, we just got the phone with them. The forecast is, as the Mayor said, we have placed some of our task forces on alert, our downtree task force and our tow truck task force. As a matter of fact, the tow truck task force will be activated as of noon today, which is just a little while from now. Again, try and stay off the roads. Maybe we won't have to use that task force as much as we have to. We also have emergency management personnel deployed across the 5 boroughs to help provide information about conditions throughout the city and to coordinate cleanup efforts. In addition, Con Ed's Emergency Operations Center is operational, and we have personnel there in case any kind of power outages come by. And we would expect some. This is going to be some heavy, wet snow, a lot of wind, so areas that are supplied by overhead wires, you might have some temporary power outages, and we've been dealing with Con Ed and PSE&G to deal with that as fast as we can. If you're going out to shovel, you've got to really be cautious today. There's going to be heavy, wet snow. Take it very slow. Dress warm. Make sure you take breaks. And as the Mayor said, check in on your neighbors, your relatives. You got some folks that are elderly or have medical conditions. Don't let them go out there and shovel. Try and either help them or get somebody to do it for them. But check in on them. They may need food supplies or medical attention, so please check in on them. For information and updates related to weather and travel conditions, sign up for Notify NYC. That's the city's free emergency notification system. You get on that by going to either nyc.gov or calling 311. We just got some information from New Jersey Transit buses. At 3 o'clock today, they will be discontinuing service, the bus service. You want more information, go to newjerseytransit.com for the most up-to-date conditions on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And finally, our Sanitation Commissioner, Catherine Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the Mayor said, we are fully deployed at this point in time. We were spreading salt on the overnight ahead of the storm. The plows started to roll around 10 a.m. as we got to that 2-inch mark varied across the city. In addition, we are joined by our sister agencies at the Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Parks Department. They have added an additional 131 pieces of equipment. We are in 12-hour shifts and will stay in 12-hour shifts until we are through with this event. We have plenty of salt on hand. We have 200 and 27,000 tons of salt, actually, or we did when we started yesterday. But we do anticipate that there will be whiteout conditions this afternoon, and I do urge people to stay off the roads if they can, because with the plows out there, it'll be safer for everyone. But I know that the commute in this morning was very, very light, so I do thank New Yorkers for taking this storm very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we're going to take questions about this storm. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mayor. Greg Monker from Pix 11 News. This is what, the fourth one of these in 3 weeks. What's being done differently this time? Is it staffing, making sure that the roads are getting plowed? How's this one?
If anyone doesn't think there's climate change, there's some further evidence. But look, we've learned from each storm, what to do. And I think every agency is doing a great job and they're coordinating well. Sanitation has really perfected how to get a lot of equipment out, how to deal with every kind of neighborhood, including the small streets. That's been a big innovation. So that's really been in effect these last few storms for the first time to have all the new equipment out, the ability to get to the smaller streets more effectively. But basically, what we're trying to do, and we learn each time, is if the minute we know that we can give people clear information, particularly on the schools, when we feel we have a clear path forward, we want to get that information out. We were able to get that out before 6 o'clock yesterday, and obviously I can say from driving around today in Manhattan and Brooklyn, it's quite clear a lot of people, as you heard, heeded the warning and stayed back, and not having the school buses out there and all the families moving around helped a lot. So I do think the early warnings are helping. People are really listening. I thank New Yorkers for that, and then that's allowing sanitation to do their job. Yes.
You said tomorrow morning's commute should be fine, or why do we believe that? What would be, obviously we have a lot of the storm to carry, so why do we believe that?
It's a great question, and the important thing to say is we believe that at this hour. And if something changes, we're going to be very straightforward about that. Why do we believe it right now? Because the National Weather Service is saying the worst will be over by 10 p.m. and all snowfall will be over by midnight. We have had a good start to the day in terms of sanitation being able to move around and do their job. As you heard, they have the equipment, they have the salt, they have everything they need. If that timeline holds, and the Commissioner can talk about it in more detail, she's confident that she can put the pieces together to have the road sufficiently clear for a pretty normal rush hour. Why don't you speak to the details a little more?
Certainly for us, it's really going to be about our ability to stay ahead of this storm. And while we do think it's very intense, we do have the pieces of equipment to stay ahead of the storm. But it is about once we get to the cessation of snowfall and having those hours on the overnight to be able to really go out and clear the streets. If the storm stalls and that snow doesn't stop till much, much later, then we will come back to you and tell you that we don't anticipate it to be quite as normal a morning commute.
Right, and I'll add, we will keep instructing people accordingly. So we constantly have to watch the evolution of each storm and then adjust the public messages. And so I would say people should be particularly focused on their 11 o'clock news and on their social media feed around that time, because that's when we'll know if the current projections actually held or if we got an unpleasant surprise. See, yes.
Mayor, I know NYCHA was rolling out a situation room type setup to respond to the storm. Do you have any update on the current state of heat or hot water outages?
Yeah, I think we have 5 developments with issue. Our general manager for NYCHA, Vito Mostacciolo, is here. Let him go over it.
Thank you. So we did activate our situation room as of 6 o'clock this morning, and we plan on keeping it active until such time that we can stand down. We also have a representative here at the EOC. As of about 30 minutes ago, we had reported outages at 5 of our developments, affecting 1,810 units. We do have repair crews at all 5 locations, and we fully expect to have the services restored by the end of day.
Do you have any sense of how many people that might affect?
It's roughly 4,000 residents.
Yeah.
New York One Noticias. Mr. Mayor, there's a lot of laborers, Hispanic, that feel that they should go to work, that don't want to be punished if they don't show up? What would be your recommendation for them?
Well, look, this morning, people were able to get to work, generally speaking. I mean, the roads were pretty clear during the morning rush hour. I think the issue now is for employers to recognize that the evening rush hour is going to be very, very tough, and to the maximum extent possible, let people go home early. So 4 o'clock's a good time to peg it to. From 4 o'clock on, right this minute, we expect very intense precipitation. Again, anything could change. But I can tell you from the previous storms, the minute you get past 1 inch per hour, when you get to 2 inches an hour, especially 3 inches an hour, that's very, very difficult conditions and very difficult for sanitation. So I would argue the onus is not on the employees, the vast majority of whom probably went to work this morning as normal. The onus is on employers to the maximum extent possible, let employees go home early. Some can't do that, I understand, but if you can, it's a good time to do it. Yes.
There are several agency heads here, but for the second one of these in a row, Chairwoman Olatoye is not here for one of these, and that's been since this heating issue came up. Why is she not here? What is she doing today?
I don't know the history of who has come from each agency to each press conference with each storm. I think it's been different people from different agencies. I know Chief Leonard is here from fire, and other times it might be Commissioner Nigro, for example. The fact is, when it comes to the operational issues that NYCHA is facing at this moment, that's the purview of the general manager. You can certainly talk to the chair's office about the other things she's doing today. Anything else?
In her operation?
I absolutely have faith. I've said it more times than I can count. I have tremendous faith in her. She is the leader of that agency. She's the strategic leader, but like with every other agency, there are also operational leaders. And the general manager runs day-to-day operations. You also have behind me, as I'm going to use Chief Leonard as my poster child, runs day-to-day operations at the fire department. It's a very normal structure. Any other questions?
I was wondering if we can get your reaction to Chris Quinn's statement.
Let's stay on the storm. Go ahead.
So we're talking about power outages at NYCHA, and those people may want to be warming their homes. What should they not do, and what should they do if they want to keep warming their homes?
Yeah, I'm going to start, and then Vito, Joe Esposito, anyone who wants to chime in. This is a real issue, not just in public housing, but in all housing. I understand, unfortunately, power outages are a part of life during storms. Sometimes heat is out. This is true in private buildings, public buildings. And I get that people want to try and find any source of heat. But the danger can be even greater if it's done the wrong way. Like, people should never use their oven to heat their home, for example. That's a dangerous dynamic. So we really want to remind people, if there's a heat problem, as you heard, there are crews on the scene in terms of the NYCHA developments. If it's a private building, call 311 right away, so we can get to work getting the landlord to fix the problem and the building managers to fix the problem, or we will send city crews if we're not getting the response we need. But if people sometimes try and find an alternative source of heat, that can create some real danger, and obviously Chief Leonard can speak to that as well. So whoever, in order, whatever you want to do.
First, I would plead with people to have a working smoke detector, make sure it's working with a working carbon monoxide detector. Secondly, with any portable heating device, it must be UL approved. Safety, do not use extension cords to activate it. Plug that into a wall outlet. The third would be very careful about how close you put that portable heating device to any combustibles. But the first thing is to make sure we have working smoke detector in that room. Using the oven, like the mayor said, is not a good idea for heating. There is problems with carbon monoxide with that, but we just have to be careful with any use of portable heating devices.
Yeah, any others you want to name that people should be careful about, like space heaters?
Well, the space heaters, if we're using space heaters, they should be UL approved, and they must be plugged into a wall outlet. Do not use extension cords when using any portable space heaters.
Anyone else want to add? Joe, Vito?
Yeah, as I said earlier, we are at Con Ed's command center. These numbers that are outages in housing right now are not unusual. We get a number of outages throughout the city on any given day, but we're coordinating with NYCHA and Con Ed if need be. If it's a Con Ed issue, we'll get them out there as fast as possible. If it's a NYCHA issue, we'll get them out there as fast as possible, and we'll jump in as fast as we can. We think most of these outages will be done sometime today. We ask people just to hunker down and try and stay warm until the heat comes back on.
Okay. Anything? Last call? Yes.
Mayor, have you been in touch with Governor Cuomo about the storm response today, and are you keeping an eye on what could happen with the MTA? Obviously, there was a time in the past where it was shut down during a storm.
Yeah, the two offices are in regular touch in these situations for sure. MTA is represented here. In fact, let's let them give an update. Okay, come on over. There you go.
Okay, so current state of affairs is that the bus and subway network is holding its own, but based on the forecast, we will expect sporadic delays, potential curtailments, and even suspension. So I would say let's keep our eyes open, our ears open. Let's sign up for the MTA.alert. Look at the MTA.info site as the day progresses. There's a high likelihood that there will be adjustments, delays, and maybe even curtailments. As it relates to the subway, that could mean running underground only. As it relates to the buses, certain routes or certain portions of routes could be suspended. But we'll have to watch and see.
And I'm gonna tell me if I get this right from an MTA perspective. What we don't have here is what we had with the blizzard a few years ago, which was the worst in our history, 29 inches. We're not talking about anything like that. So I think we're seeing the dangers to the overground lines with the subway, not the underground in this instance. Right? We don't see any scenario where the underground should be affected right now.
At this point, no.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, we've already seen Governor Cuomo out helping some motorists on the road in snow. Would we can we expect to see you helping out?
I will be out in some neighborhoods shortly. If someone needs my help, I'm always ready. I'm an experienced, as you know, shoveler of snow. Yes.
I have a question for NYCHA here. According to the NYCHA website, since 5:40 a.m., the King Towers, the entire development has been out, has had no heat or hot water. There's 3,080 people. Can you give us the history of King Towers? Have they lost heat previously this year? What's the history in that development?
So I don't have the history of that particular development with me. I can tell you, though, that restoration of the services occurred earlier this morning. So heat and hot water have been restored to King Towers.
The website says, told us that you have
The website's not up to date.
So that says the 4,000 people are in addition. That doesn't include the 3,000.
Again, services have been restored to King's Tower.
We'll get you the blow by blow. But yes, websites are often behind the action as things are evolving. Okay, last call on the storm. See if there's anything else you got. Going once, twice. Okay, thanks everyone.